Hi, I'm Anthony Originello, CEO of the Chartered Professionals in Human Resources for BC and Yukon. We represent more than 8,000 members, and as the organization dedicated to advancing the HR profession through education, advocacy, awareness, professional development, as well as our recognized and impactful CPHR designation, we are proud to be a sponsor of this show. We have been the voice of the HR profession since 1942. Learn more about us at cphrbc.ca.
My first job was I packed boxes in a clothing factory. I think the story behind this, Stu, is I was 13 years old and I wanted to buy a bike. And I had Asian Chinese parents. And when I told them I wanted to buy a bike, they said, no, your savings is for saving. You want to buy a bike, get a job. So my grandmother's family owned a clothing factory, and I went in every morning to work with a bunch of 60-year-old men who packed boxes of the clothing for shipment. And in that job, I chopped my finger off. So that was my first introduction to the workforce.
In this edition of Careers That Matter, I'm joined by Todd Yuen, who is the president of Beedie Industrial. Todd, welcome.
Thank you, Sue. Pleasure to be here.
President of Beedie Industrial. What does that mean? Like, what is your job?
So our organization has several facets. We have a residential group, Beedie Living. We have a large private equity group, Beedie Capital. We have a huge philanthropic group. And we have the original business, which is Beedie Industrial. That's where Ryan's father started. So I have oversight over all of our operations across the country, across our 3 offices in Calgary, Toronto, and Vancouver, and all of the various facets that fall within that, from property management to construction. I'm supported by several individuals, of course, a CFO and a COO who oversee our operational side, but ultimately I have responsibility for the business unit.
So how many direct reports do you have coming to you?
Well, I'm very fortunate. As I mentioned, I have my EVPs who oversee our construction department, our asset management and property management department, our leasing department. So it would be under 10, but beneath those 10 people are another 300.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what does a typical day look like for you, seeing as you're managing so many different elements of the business and you're operating across a variety of time zones?
I've been with Beedie now for 18 years, and in that time, the job has transformed. When I first start there was 40 people in the business. So I would do everything from fly to Calgary to rent temporary accommodations for our employees who are going to build projects there, to you name it. But now at the scale that the business has reached, I really try to focus my days on things that are going to be important for moving the needle for the company. I will admit I am a bit of a micromanager, or have been historically, and I've really had to beat that out to myself and just kind of trust the people around me. So I focus on things that, particularly on the transactional side, that are important in order to move the business along. Of course, there are some operational and HR things, although our COO deals with the most of them, but if they're critical or a little testy, sometimes I'll get involved in some of those types of things. But, if Mr. Beedie was still here, and he actually said this to some family members, he was touring through the office one day, his answer was, Todd spends a lot of time on the phone.
But and is most of that time on the phone directed towards the internal running of the company, or do you also have a portion of your job that is external facing as well? And what does that look like?
I think where I bring the most benefit to the business, others may disagree, but I think there's other people within our organization who are far more skilled and adept at dealing with the internal matters, whether it's structure, organization, technology. We have some people who are just absolutely incredible at that, and I leave those responsibilities with them. I provide my views and insights and opinions when required, but I think I know where my skills are best served, and that's externally. So landing new business, introducing myself to new clients, liaising with our partners. I spend a lot of time with elected officials and with various staff members, just kind of keeping that connectivity at a higher level between the organization and them.
And some media as well.
And some media now as well, yeah.
So also, Beedie Development has been remarkably generous in giving back to the community. Does that start to fall within your area of responsibility a bit as well?
That is Ryan's passion. When you've managed to have the success that he has had in the business, I think he will tell you that when he thinks of what really motivates him to keep this growing, because there's a lot of people who ask the question, why do you guys keep pushing so hard? And it's because Ryan is just never satisfied, and he really believes in what the opportunity for this business is. And when I use the word opportunity, I don't mean from a profitability or a revenue perspective. It's the ability to do things that are really meaningful from the philanthropic perspective. So I think I don't have direct interaction. I mean, I like yourself, I'm a mentee for Beedie Luminaries. That was incredible. But the direct involvement in the actual philanthropic side is all Ryan and Martina. They drive that bus.
How many days a week are you working, and how many hours per day?
Yeah, so the statistic that Ryan likes to tell people is I've been with the company now for 18 years, and I believe I now have 100 bank holiday days. So, even back to my previous career, work-life balance has not always been my forte. I have an 8-year-old now, though, and I started having kids later in life, and that really has changed the calculus for me. I don't think and Ryan was the individual who's most encouraging of this, right? He's like, you've got to be a dad. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have time to be a dad. But now, I go to work a little later. I come home a little earlier on days I try to get them off to school, but it is still 7 days a week. When I'm on holidays, 2 or 3 hours in the morning are spent working so that emails don't get out of control. And I am one of those individuals, I'll admit it, who if my phone's not near me, I get quite nervous because it is a very busy operation.
Well, and do you find that there's great value in being able to address something as quickly as possible?
Yes.
So that it's not lingering and then becomes more complex in your response?
Yes, and particularly because we're in an action-orientated business, right? It's a transactional related business where, we think that our greatest weapons is our ability to move decisively and quickly. We have no board of directors, we have an IC, I have one person, Ryan Beedie, and he's available to me at all times. So, I'm a part of that communication chain, and if I'm not in it, things just sit there and it causes me anxiety. But if it's causing me anxiety, it's probably causing 15 other people a lot more anxiety.
So let's go back. You graduate from high school where?
Prince of Wales.
And did you say, I know what I want to do with my life?
I wish. It's when I go and I do industry events or when I'm speaking to students, invariably they always ask me, they're like, oh, well, what did you study in university? Because, I've got a wonderful job that I'm sure a lot of people would kill to have. And I think a lot of people are very disappointed when they find out I have a BA in political science. That is the sum total of my post-secondary education.
So you graduate with that BA in political science. Where'd you go?
So my parents were looking at me and they said, what the heck are you going to do now? Because my grades weren't that great. And I remember the day, and I remember we went to the Hotel Vancouver, but it was a friend of my father's who was a real estate developer, and he took me out for lunch and he said, your dad's going to kill you if you don't figure something out here. I said, I know. I was a waiter at the time, Stu. And he goes, what are you going to do? I said, I think I'm going to go back and get my grades up and see if I can get into law school. And he said to me, do not do that. He said, you probably would be an okay lawyer, but you're going to be bored senseless. He goes, have you ever thought about commercial real estate? And I didn't even know what commercial real estate was. He introduced me to a couple of people. I knocked on some doors, and the short version of that is I fell into commercial brokerage. It turned out I had a real aptitude for it. I did my first deal in the business 30 some odd years ago with Ryan Beedie, who was such a gem and of a human being. We developed a friendship that is to this day, and by fluke or by fate or who knows what's going to happen to the conversation we're having here I sit.
Isn't that remarkable?
It's crazy.
And it goes to so okay, you took a chance to go to lunch.
Yep.
And then you actually listened to the person that talked to you.
Yep.
But then you took a chance also to put yourself out there to try and get a job.
Yes.
What in your personality have you discovered about yourself that you think has been an essential element for you to be successful?
So I don't profess for a second to ever be the smartest person in the room. I think what I think is my one real skill is, and everyone says this, but I really like people, right? And I think that whether it was from my previous role as a commercial real estate salesman, I think when I met someone for the first time, people could tell that I was actually genuinely interested with them, right? Like I have a natural curiosity about people and, you know, how they got to where they were, similar to yourself, and like their background and their families and where they grow up. And I say to young people all the time, if you're going to be one thing, be genuine, right? Don't be an extrovert if you're an introvert, because it's okay to be an introvert. There's a lot of successful introverts in this world. And I'm just really comfortable with people. And I think I can meet people who may be difficult, who may be surly. And I think right away they know that I'm respectful, that I can be deferential when appropriate, but that I can hold my own in times of tension or controversy. And that I have enough expertise behind me to know that I can present something without it sounding boastful or egotistical. That is my one true skill, I think. Others may say, Ryan once said to me the other day, he goes, you know what your real skill is? He goes, you're smart enough to know where you're not very smart. And you let other people who are smarter at doing those things take those roles, and you have no ego about it. And he goes, that is your one real skill. And I thought about it, I go, I don't know if that's a compliment, but I'm going to take it as such.
Well, you also said something there where you said, I'm curious about other people.
Yeah.
So curiosity, how important has that been to you, not just in learning about other people, but also the way that the world works and opportunities that unfold in front of you?
I think it's critical. I mean, if I take it back to my business and where I started in this industry, it's in industrial real estate brokerage. And if you're meeting an individual for the first time, and this individual, she or he has built this business oftentimes from the ground up, and there's a huge amount of pride. And people can smell whether you're being disingenuous or not. And they can tell when someone's coming through their front door, and when they walk through their warehouse and they see their factory and they're asking a question just to be polite, or they're asking a question because they actually want to know the answer. And I actually was one of those people who were like, how the heck did you get into the cheese business, right? Or how did you discover that you wanted to get out of private investment banking and build widgets, right? Those are the types of things I just think is the best part of our business, and seeing the people that's in it. And I think people recognize that. Like, I actually want to know.
Well, and I also think that it demonstrates that you go, well, I don't know that, but you do.
Yep.
And you can share it with me, and I can learn.
Yep.
And I think that it's a fantastic quality to have. And it has played, as you pointed out, an important role in your success.
I think so.
Probably coupled with a really good work ethic. Thanks for giving us a glimpse into your career and your career path.
Thank you, Stu. I appreciate it.